Have you ever really wondered what it actually takes to make it big in a field that doesn't have a rulebook? I'm not talking about becoming a doctor or a lawyer, you know? I'm talking about those dream jobs. The actor on the big screen, the athlete at the absolute top of their game, the musician you hear everywhere. Millions of people try for it, but so few succeed. What's their secret? Well, today, we're going to dig into the unconventional playbook for success.
So let's just get right into it. We're going to look at the journeys of people who didn't just climb a ladder, they had to build their own. What are the common threads here? What are the core principles? And maybe more importantly, the mindsets that set them apart from literally everyone else trying to do the same thing.
For this explainer, we're looking at three pretty incredible journeys. Actor Kriti Sanon, who went from engineering to absolute stardom. Cricketer KL Rahul, who basically honed his skills on a college campus. And the musician Badshah, who is balancing a civil engineering degree with his musical ambitions. The key thing here, none of them had a family hookup in their industries. They all started from scratch one and really fought their way to the top. Their stories give us this raw, unfiltered look at the grit and strategy it takes to make it on your own terms.
Okay, so every great story has a beginning, right? Where does a journey like this even start? Let's look at the foundation, their first chapter, their early years. How did family, school, and their very first experiences shape the path they'd eventually take?
What's so fascinating right away is the contrast. I mean, you've got Kriti Sanon, who calls herself this studious, nerdy kid with major stage fright, totally obsessed with getting top marks. And then you have KL Rahul, who basically grew up with a cricket bat in his hands, just living and breathing sports. Two completely different kids, but here's the common ground, and you can see it right there. Both came from very academic families. It just goes to show you there is no single prototype for success. You can really come from anywhere.
So what's that spark that lights the fire? For Kriti, a huge piece of the puzzle was her mother's unfulfilled dreams. See, her mom was this highly educated woman who had to fight just for the right to work, and she was never allowed to pursue her own passions, like singing or swimming. So Kriti sees her mom's early push for her to dance not as pressure, but as this deep desire for her daughter to have all the chances she was denied. And this, right here, reveals a super powerful pattern. It wasn't just Kriti. KL Rahul's story is almost a perfect mirror image. His dad was a talented cricketer who was forced to give it all up. So when he saw that same spark in his son, he just poured all of his support into him. So in both stories, you see parents channeling their own deferred dreams into their children. And that creates this incredibly focused and encouraging environment that gave them a critical head start. Okay, so you've got the foundation, but what happens next? This brings us to one of the biggest questions in success, period. Is it about raw, natural talent, or is it about pure, relentless hard work? You know, nature versus nurture versus just sheer hustle. And here we see two totally different schools of thought. On one hand, you have KL Rahul, who believes that in sports, some things are just innate. You're either born with incredible hand-eye coordination or you're not. As he puts it, some abilities just can't be taught. But then you look at Kriti. Her story is the ultimate argument for nurture. She was not born confident. She talks about coming home crying after her first jobs because she felt so completely inadequate. And then there's a third path, which is really embodied by Badshah. He represents sheer tenacity. While he was studying engineering, he was also creating music, literally living a double life. For him, it wasn't just about talent or learning a new skill. It was about the raw will to outwork everyone else, to have what he calls a dog in you.
So, how do you build confidence if you're not born with it? Well, Kriti's journey gives us his awesome 4-step playbook. First, you have to actively seek out what scares you. You got to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. Second, you have to be okay with failing at the beginning. I mean, she bombed her first major film audition. Third, you have to be relentless. Just keep getting back up and doing it again. And finally, through that whole process, you develop what she calls earned confidence. This deep self-belief that comes from the work you put in, not from some lucky draw in the genetic lottery.
All right, so you've put in the work, you've built the confidence, but look, getting to the top is only half the battle. Staying there, with all the pressure and the public scrutiny, that's a whole different challenge. This section is all about the mental game. How do you win the war that's happening inside your own head?
I mean, this is just a raw and really honest admission from KL Rahul. He opens up about this controversial interview that got him suspended and unleashed this just torrent of online hate, and the psychological toll was immense. He says it scarred me massively, and it fundamentally changed his personality from being this outgoing guy to someone who's withdrawn.
It's such a powerful reminder that fame comes with a very real, very human price, and that the mental armor you need is just as important as any physical skill.
So how do you protect your mental health under that kind of insane pressure? Well, here are some of the strategies they actually use. Rahul has essentially quit social media. His argument is, what you don't see can't hurt you. He reconnects with his childhood friends to find his safe space. And he uses these rituals to ground himself, to remember the kid who just loved to play cricket. It's about shifting the focus from the pressure to perform to the actual joy of the craft. And Badshah offers another angle. He's learned to separate the art from the artist. The criticism is for the public persona, not for him, the person. It's like a mental firewall that lets him keep creating without letting all that negativity paralyze him. This leads to a really interesting idea. The goal isn't just happiness, right? Because that can come and go. It's about a deeper sense of peace. Kriti calls it being happy restless. It's the state where you're content with where you are, but you're still hungry for what's next. The key insight here is that the ambition comes from a place of security, not a place of fear. And that's a much more powerful and sustainable way to fuel your drive, because you're running towards something you want, not running away from something you're afraid of. Okay, so after hearing all of this, what are the big takeaways? Let's boil it all down into a final, actionable playbook. If you are carving your own path, these are the core principles to keep in mind, and they're synthesized from all three of their incredible journeys. So, what's in the playbook? First, from Kriti's journey, we learn to ask questions without shame. Seriously, curiosity is your greatest tool for growth. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Second, as we learn from Badshah, you have to develop a dog in you. Hard work is the baseline. You need that relentless fight to truly stand out. Third, Badshah reminds us that patience is your superpower. He even quotes Jay-Z, "The only genius thing that I did was not giving up." The journey is long. Fourth, a critical lesson from the music world. Be inspired but not influenced. Learn from the greats, of course, but your unique voice is your real asset. And finally, and this kind of loops back to Kriti's story, you find your passion by doing. You don't have to have it all figured out from the start. Just start. Passion often follows action, not the other way around. At the end of the day, these stories are so much more than just celebrity profiles. They're like a roadmap for anyone out there trying to build something for themselves. They prove that while there is no single formula for unconventional success, there are common ingredients: resilience, self-awareness, and a drive that goes way beyond raw talent. Their stories are written. The only question left is, how will you write yours?